For thousands of years, they vanished beneath sand, sea, and jungle. Entire civilizations erased from memory. But in the last 50 years, archaeologists have unearthed 5 ancient worlds that rewrite everything we thought we knew about human history. These aren't legends. They're real. October 1994. German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt stood on a hilltop in southeastern Turkey, staring at something impossible. Beneath his feet lay Göbekli Tepe, a temple complex built 11,600 years ago. To understand how revolutionary this is, consider this predates pottery, writing, the wheel, and agriculture itself. Humanity was supposed to be nomadic hunter-gatherers, yet here they carved 20-ton limestone pillars decorated with intricate reliefs of animals, foxes, lions, bulls, scorpions, snakes, and arranged them in circular formations. The site spans 22 acres. Ground-penetrating radar reveals at least 200 pillars still buried. Only 5% has been excavated. Each ring measures up to 30 meters in diameter, with T-shaped pillars standing over 5 meters tall. The precision is astonishing. These stones were quarried, carved, and transported without metal tools or domesticated animals. But here's what changed everything. Göbekli Tepe suggests religion came before civilization, not after. Traditional archaeology claimed humans settled down to farm, then built temples. Göbekli Tepe proves they built temples first, then settled to maintain them. This wasn't a settlement. No evidence of habitation exists. It was purely ceremonial. The carvings tell stories we can't fully decode. Pillar 43, called the Vulture Stone, depicts what some researchers interpret as astronomical knowledge. Constellations, a comet impact around 10,950 BCE that may have triggered the Younger Dryas climate event. Others see it as symbolic mythology. Either interpretation is staggering for Stone Age people. Around 8,000 BCE, they deliberately buried the entire complex under tons of soil. Why? We don't know. Schmidt died in 2014, never seeing his life's work completed. Göbekli Tepe remains active. Every excavation season reveals new chambers. What else lies beneath? While Göbekli Tepe revealed humanity's spiritual awakening in the Old World, across the Atlantic, another discovery would prove ancient Americans were far more advanced than anyone imagined. 3,000 years before the Maya. 1994. The same year Göbekli Tepe stunned Turkey, Peruvian archaeologist Ruth Shadi was walking through the Soup Valley, 120 miles north of Lima. For decades, looters had ravaged the mounds here, assuming they were natural hills. Shadi saw something else. The oldest city in the Americas. Caral dates to 2600 BCE, contemporary with Egypt's pyramids. This wasn't a village. It was a sophisticated urban center covering 163 acres with monumental architecture, plazas, and a population estimated at 3,000. 6 pyramidal structures dominate the site. The largest, Pyramid Mare, rises 18 meters tall, with a base covering nearly 4 football fields. What makes Caral extraordinary is what's missing. Weapons. No battlements, no defensive walls, no evidence of warfare. For 1,200 years, this civilization thrived peacefully. They weren't primitive. They built complex irrigation systems, grew 18 different crops, and traded with coastal communities 14 miles away, exchanging fish and shellfish for agricultural goods. The architecture reveals sophisticated engineering. They use shikra bags, mesh bags filled with stones, as a seismic-resistant foundation. Peru sits on a tectonic subduction zone. Caral's buildings survived earthquakes for millennia because of this innovation. But Caral had something even more remarkable: music. Archaeologists discovered 32 flutes made from condor and pelican bones. These weren't simple pipes. They're precision instruments capable of producing complex melodies. Musical culture in the Americas dates back 5,000 years. Around 1800 BCE, Caral was abandoned. Climate change, a 200-year drought, likely forced the population to scatter. The city remained buried under sand until Shadi's team began excavations. Most of Caral remains unexcavated. Ground scans suggest structures still hidden beneath the surface. In 2009, UNESCO-designated Caral, a World Heritage Site. Shady continues working there at 81 years old, uncovering more evidence that challenges our understanding of early American civilizations. 2007. Archaeologist Chris Fisher stood in the forested hills of Michoacan, Mexico, frustrated. He knew a major Purépecha settlement existed here. Spanish chronicles mentioned it, but dense vegetation made traditional surveying impossible. Then he tried something revolutionary. LiDAR. Light detection and ranging uses laser pulses fired from aircraft to penetrate forest canopy and create precise 3D maps of the ground. What Fisher's team discovered shocked them. Angamuco, a city larger than Manhattan, home to possibly 100,000 people at its peak between 1000 and 1350 CE. The Purépecha Empire rivals the Aztecs, yet few know their story. While the Aztecs dominated central Mexico, the Purépecha controlled the west from their capital, Tzintzuntzan. Angamuco was one of their major urban centers, covering 10 square miles of carefully engineered cityscape. LiDAR revealed 40,000 architectural foundations, pyramids, plazas, ball courts, residential zones organized into neighborhoods. The city featured sophisticated urban planning, raised causeways, connected districts, artificial terraces, maximized agricultural space, and a complex water management system included reservoirs and aqueducts. What makes this discovery remarkable is preservation through obscurity. Unlike Aztec cities that Spanish conquistadors destroyed and built over, Angamuco was abandoned before European contact. The 1350 eruption of the nearby Paracatine volcanic field may have forced evacuation. Nature reclaimed it, leaving structures intact beneath soil and vegetation. Fisher's team has excavated less than 1%. They found obsidian workshops. The Purépecha controlled major obsidian sources, making them wealthy through trade. They've uncovered elaborate burials with jade jewelry, copper bells, and ceramics that rival anything produced by contemporary civilizations. The ball courts deserve attention. Mesoamerican ball games weren't just sport. They were ritual, sometimes ending in sacrifice. Angamuco has at least 7 courts, suggesting the city was a major ceremonial center. One discovery haunts researchers. The city's eastern edge ends abruptly at a ravine. Survey data shows more structures across the gap, suggesting another district once connected by a bridge, now collapsed. What lies in that unexplored section? LiDAR continues revealing secrets. The 2009 survey captured point cloud data that archaeologists still analyze. Every new processing technique exposes previously invisible features. June 2000. French archaeologist Frank Gaudio's team was surveying Aboukir Bay, 6 kilometers off Egypt's northern coast. Sonar pinged something massive on the seafloor, 30 feet below the surface. What they found would rewrite Egyptian maritime history. Heracleion, Egypt's greatest port city, lost for 1,200 years. Ancient texts mentioned Heracleion, the Greeks called it Thonius, but scholars debated whether it actually existed. Now divers swam through streets where Cleopatra once walked, past temples where pharaohs worshipped, touching colossal statues that hadn't seen sunlight since the 8th century CE. Heracleion controlled Egypt's gateway to the Mediterranean for nearly 1,000 years. All trade between Egypt and Greece passed through this port. The city flourished from the 8th century BCE until catastrophic subsidence and earthquakes dragged it underwater around 800 CE. Liquefaction, when saturated sand loses solidity during earthquakes, caused the ground to literally liquefy beneath the city. The preservation is extraordinary. Underwater excavations have recovered over 700 ancient anchors, 64 ships, and countless artifacts. The city's layout remains intact. The Grand Temple of Amun-Gareb with its monumental pillars, the harbor with stone quays and mooring posts, warehouses still containing amphorae filled with grain. What makes Heracleion invaluable is the sheer volume of intact artifacts. On land, ancient sites have been looted for millennia. Underwater, everything stayed preserved. Gold jewelry, bronze coins, limestone sculptures, even organic materials like ship timbers dating to the 5th century BCE. The Star Discovery, a 5.4-meter red granite statue of Hapi, god of the Nile floods, found in 3 pieces. It weighs 6 tons. How did they transport such monuments in the Bronze Age? The statue now resides in Alexandria's Bibliotheca Alexandrina, but dozens more remain on the seafloor. Inscribed stelae provided crucial historical evidence. One stela, commissioned by Pharaoh Nectanebo I in 380 BCE, details tax regulations and religious ceremonies. Reading these underwater inscriptions felt like recovering lost chapters of Egyptian history. The temple complex alone spans several acres. Divers found smaller chapels, priest quarters, ritual pools, an entire sacred precinct frozen in time. Bronze ritual objects, including an incense burner, shaped like a duck, show remarkable craftsmanship. Only 5% has been excavated. The city sprawls across 11 square kilometers of seafloor. Gaudio's team continues annual expeditions, each revealing new districts. The challenge? Underwater archaeology is expensive and slow. Excavating underwater takes 10 times longer than land sites. Recent surveys suggest Heracleion was even larger than initially thought, with suburbs extending kilometers from the main port. What else waits in the silt? 2012. Archaeologist Damian Evans flew a helicopter over Cambodia's Phnom Kulen Mountain, 25 miles north of Angkor Wat. Beneath the aircraft, LiDAR lasers pierced the jungle canopy. What the data revealed stunned the archaeological world. Mahendraparvata, a massive medieval city, and evidence that the Khmer Empire's urban landscape was vastly larger than the temple's tourist photograph. For decades, scholars believed Angkor was a ceremonial center, surrounded by sparse settlement. LiDAR proved them wrong. The Khmer civilization built an urban network covering 1,150 square miles, making it the largest pre-industrial city on Earth, larger than modern Los Angeles. Mahendraparvata dates to the 9th century CE, 400 years before Angkor Wat. King Jayavarman II founded it in 802 CE as the Khmer Empire's first capital. The city sprawls across 15 square miles of mountainous terrain, featuring at least 30 temples, elaborate water management systems, and neighborhoods connected by a sophisticated road network. But here's what changes everything: ground verification. When Evans's team hiked into the jungle following LiDAR coordinates, they found temples so overgrown that local guides, people who'd lived in the area their entire lives, had walked past them for decades without knowing they existed. Vines and roots engulfed 1,200-year-old stone towers. The LiDAR also revealed something extraordinary about Angkor Wat itself. The famous temple sits at the center of a sprawling urban grid. Residential mounds, canals, ponds, and roads surrounded the monument. Angkor wasn't just a temple complex, it was a thriving city of 750,000 people. Water was the Khmer's genius. LiDAR maps show thousands of kilometers of canals, reservoirs called barrays, and hydraulic systems that managed monsoon flooding and provided irrigation during dry seasons. The West Baray alone holds 15 million cubic meters of water, a reservoir larger than anything built in Europe until the modern era. But the system had a fatal flaw. Tree ring analysis and climate data reveal that the 14th to 15th centuries brought severe droughts alternating with devastating floods. The hydraulic infrastructure couldn't adapt. Canals silted up, reservoirs dried, and the population abandoned Angkor. By the time Portuguese explorers arrived in the 16th century, the jungle had reclaimed everything except the largest stone temples. The 2012 discoveries continue. LiDAR surveys in 2015 found even more temples northwest of Angkor, structures that would have taken decades to locate using traditional ground surveys. One complex near Preah Khan Temple includes undocumented towers and moats that don't appear in any historical records. The most haunting discovery, evidence of social inequality. LiDAR reveals elite compounds with elaborate water features next to cramped working-class neighborhoods. The disparity was stark, suggesting social tensions may have contributed to Angkor's collapse alongside environmental factors. What makes this different from earlier discoveries? Speed. LiDAR can survey in days what would take archaeologists decades. Evans mapped 370 square miles in 1 week of aerial scanning. Thousands of sites remain unexplored, their coordinates waiting in data files. The Cambodian government now uses this technology to protect undiscovered sites from looting. Every temple revealed by LiDAR is GPS tagged and monitored. Yet the jungle is vast and many ruins remain beyond reach. 5 civilizations, 5 technologies. 5 reminders that beneath every forest, desert, and sea, history waits to be discovered. What we know about the ancient world is only what we've found so far. Somewhere, right now, another lost city sleeps, waiting for the next archaeologist with the right tool, the right hunch, and the courage to